Today we're going to discuss a really cheap lens that offers an incredible value for your streaming setup. The lens we're going to be reviewing today is often known under a few names. Sometimes it's even nameless. You'll often see it listed as a Fujian 25mm f1.8 C-mount lens. It's important to know that a C-mount lens isn't designed to cover your full sensor. Depending on the camera you're using, you may see a slight bit of vignetting around the edges, or it may be extreme, just depends on your sensor size. My current setup is using an old Sony a6000 that I have. As you can see here, the coverage works really well. One thing you'll have to know about this lens is you'll have to calculate the field of view based on your crop factor. So this is a 25mm lens, but the Sony has a crop factor of 1.5. That effectively gives us 37.5mm field of view, which is very close to a classic 35mm lens. Now this lens does go down to f1.8, which I'm currently shooting at now. You may or may not want to bump that up to f2, f2.8. It just depends how much of the background you want to blur. Keep in mind that this is not an autofocus lens. You will have to position yourself, find where you regularly sit, and adjust it just so you give yourself about a foot or a foot and a half of being able to lean and still being in focus. So if I get really close, or if I go really back, I start to blur. And that's because I gotta focus where I usually sit when I'm doing my streams. There's no reason not to keep this lens at f1.8. I recommend bumping it up to f2, just so you have room to move around a bit and still be in focus. I was able to purchase this lens for around $37 shipped from AliExpress. This lens arrived in 20 days from China, which is excellent shipping time. I believe I'll be sticking with this C-mount lens on my setup for a while, as it gives me a really great field of view, and I don't need to go much more wider than this. One thing you have to keep in mind is not everybody needs a 16mm f1.4 lens. You don't want a super wide area if you've only got a small place to film. A lot of people only have a small area to film and do their streams, and you don't need to capture half of the room behind you. This right here is 37.5mm. I've got enough space. And if you're doing a stream anyway, you're probably just going to be zoomed into your head. So that's all you really need. So now we're going to set this lens at several different apertures just so you get an idea of how this lens performs. This is f1.8. This is what the lens looks like at f2.0. This is what the lens looks like at f2.8. And this is f4 with my video light adjusted 20% brighter. And this is at f5.6, and I have my video light set to 100% brightness. Please keep in mind that I'm only using one direct video light. And now here we're back at f2.8 with my video light set to 65% brightness. This lens averages between $30 to $40 on AliExpress. For those who are using a Sony aps-c camera in their streaming setup, this is a solid recommendation for a budget lens. I'll be putting a few links in the comments to where you can pick up this lens if you're interested. Have you found a budget lens cheaper than this? If so, leave a comment below. As always, thanks for watching.